Raj had always been someone people in his town relied on. He was not rich. His clothes were simple and often a little worn, and his hands were always covered in grease or oil from fixing cars. But Raj had something that money could never buy: a heart that genuinely cared for others. He worked in a small garage at the edge of a quiet street, a place filled with the sounds of wrenches clanging, engines humming, and the occasional laughter from customers who had come to know him over the years. Despite having little, he never hesitated to help anyone who needed him. Every morning, Raj would wake up before the sun rose. He would eat a simple breakfast, usually just some bread and tea, and walk to his garage. The town was still asleep when he arrived, and the streets were quiet, only the occasional crow or the soft rustle of leaves in the early wind. He liked these moments before the world fully woke up. It gave him time to prepare for the day, think about the work ahead, and sometimes just breathe in the calm of the morning. He believed that starting the day with peace in your mind made the work easier and the heart lighter. Raj's life was simple but not easy. He had grown up helping his father in a similar small garage before his father passed away. That experience had taught him more than school ever could. He knew how to listen to an engine, understand its noises, and figure out what it needed. People often came from nearby towns to get their vehicles fixed by him, trusting that he would not only repair the cars but also treat them with care. Raj didn't just fix cars. He cared for them as if they were part of his own family. Despite his skill, money was always tight. Some days, he barely earned enough to cover the rent for the garage, let alone take care of himself properly. His meals were often small. He sometimes went without certain things so that he could buy parts for someone's vehicle or lend a hand to someone in need. But Raj never complained. In fact, he rarely thought about what he didn't have. His mind was always busy thinking about what he could do for others. That was how he measured wealth, not by the money in his pocket, but by the kindness in his heart. On one particular afternoon, the sky turned gray as clouds rolled in. The wind picked up, carrying the first hints of rain. Raj looked up and sighed. Rain could make work harder, especially when people were in a rush and their cars refused to cooperate. But rain was also a gift. It watered the plants, filled the reservoirs, and gave the town a fresh smell that Raj secretly loved. He finished cleaning his tools and wiped the grease from his hands, preparing for whatever the day would bring. Just as he was about to close the garage for a short break, he heard the roar of an engine that didn't belong. It was smooth and powerful, unlike the usual cars he saw in the town. Raj looked up and saw a sleek, shining car pulling up near the edge of the street. The car came to a sudden stop, and the driver stepped out, looking stressed and frustrated. The man was well-dressed, with a crisp shirt and polished shoes that clearly had not seen the dust of this small town before. Raj noticed how he glanced around nervously, then under the hood of his car, muttering to himself. Without hesitation, Raj walked over, his hands still slightly greasy, but his face showing calm concern. "Is there a problem, sir?" he asked politely. The man looked up, surprised. He wasn't expecting anyone to offer help in this quiet little place. He shook his head quickly and said, "Yes, the car. It just won't start. I don't know what's wrong, and I'm already late for an important meeting." Raj smiled gently and said, "Don't worry. Let me take a look." He gestured toward the car and carefully opened the hood. The rain began to fall in light droplets, but Raj didn't mind. He worked steadily, checking the engine, listening to the sounds, and moving with the confidence of someone who had fixed hundreds of cars in his life. The man watched nervously, shifting from one foot to another, but Raj remained calm, focused entirely on the problem at hand. As Raj worked, he asked the man simple questions to ease the tension. "When did it start acting up? Have you noticed any strange sounds or smells?" The man answered in a hurried, anxious tone. Raj nodded, taking in every detail. Then, with careful hands and steady movements, he began adjusting the engine, replacing a small part that had come loose. Within minutes, the car roared to life, purring smoothly like it had just come off the showroom floor. The man's eyes widened, and he took a step back. You fixed it?" he asked, still in disbelief. Raj chuckled softly and said, "Yes, it needed a little attention. Nothing too difficult. I'm glad it's running again." The man wanted to offer him money immediately, but Raj waved him off. "No need, sir. Just take care of your car and yourself." The stranger paused, studying Raj for a moment. He could see the dirt under his nails, the oil on his hands, and the tiredness in his eyes. But he also saw something else, something rare. There was honesty there, a genuine desire to help someone in need without expecting anything in return. It was not something he encountered often, especially not in the fast-paced world he came from. "I insist," the man said again, reaching into his pocket. Raj shook his head. "It's not about money. I believe helping someone is worth more than anything else. Today I was able to help you. That is enough for me." The man looked at him silently, then nodded slowly. He realized that this mechanic, in his simple garage, had shown him a kind of generosity that money couldn't buy, as the man drove away. Raj stood by his garage, watching the car disappear into the distance. He felt a quiet satisfaction, not from earning money or recognition, but from knowing he had done the right thing. It was moments like these that made the long days, the hard work, and the struggles worth it. Raj knew that even though life was challenging, kindness was a choice he could make every day, and that choice had the power to change not only his life, but the lives of those he touched. Later, as the rain continued to fall, Raj returned to his tools, cleaned them, and prepared for the next customer who might need his help. The day wasn't over, and there were still many cars to fix and people to assist. But he felt lighter, happier, and more certain than ever that doing good, even in small ways, was what truly mattered. And as the town streets glistened under the rain, Raj's small garage became a quiet sanctuary of hope. Proof that one person's kindness could ripple out in ways no one could predict. A few days after the encounter with the stranger, Raj continued his work as usual. The small garage was alive with activity, with cars coming and going, and people chatting as they waited. Raj treated each person with the same patience and care, never letting the memories of the previous encounter distract him. Yet a small part of him couldn't stop thinking about the man and the luxurious car. It was rare for someone from outside the town to even stop here, let alone trust him with their car. Raj smiled quietly, shaking off the thought, reminding himself that kindness was its own reward, no matter who received it. That afternoon, the sky darkened once again, hinting at rain. The air smelled earthy, and the distant rumbles of thunder could be heard. Raj was working on a motorbike, tightening screws and checking the brakes, when he heard a soft knocking on the open garage door. Looking up, he saw a young man standing there, soaked from the rain. His clothes were damp, sticking to him uncomfortably, and his expression was nervous but hopeful. "Sir," the man said, his voice trembling slightly, I have a problem with my car. Could you please help me?" Raj put down his tools and walked over. He nodded gently, of course. "Bring it in, and I'll see what I can do." The man nodded, relief washing over his face, and led his small, rain-covered car into the garage. The engine made a few coughing noises, clearly struggling against some hidden problem. As Raj opened the hood, the man hesitated, glancing around nervously. I don't know much about cars," he admitted. "I was told you might help, and I hope it's not too much trouble." Raj smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry. We'll figure it out together. You just need to trust me and stay calm." The man exhaled deeply, visibly relaxing for the first time since he arrived. Raj inspected the engine carefully. The problem was not immediately obvious, but his hands moved with confidence, checking wires, hoses, and small components. As he worked, he began to talk to the man, asking about his life, where he was from, and why he had come to this town. The man hesitated at first, unsure if he should share, but Raj's calm presence and genuine interest slowly encouraged him. He spoke about being from a big city, feeling lost in the small town, and needing a break from his fast-paced life. The rain continued outside, drumming gently against the roof of the garage. Inside, the warm smell of oil and engine parts mixed with the earthy scent of the wet streets. Raj didn't rush. He knew that rushing could lead to mistakes. Every movement was careful, deliberate. The man watched in awe as Raj seemed to understand the engine almost instinctively. It was not just skill, it was a connection between him and the machines, a way of listening to them that only experience could teach. After some time, Raj found the source of the problem, a small, worn-out part that needed replacing. He didn't have the exact piece on hand, but he had a temporary fix that would get the car running safely. As he worked, he explained each step to the man, making sure he understood what was happening without overwhelming him with technical details. The man listened intently, nodding, clearly learning from the process. When the engine finally roared to life, smooth and steady, the man's face lit up. He couldn't believe it. It's working. How did you do that?" he asked, his voice filled with amazement and relief. Raj chuckled softly, wiping his hands on a rag. "Every engine has a story. You just have to listen and understand what it needs. Today, it needed a little patience and care." The man wanted to pay Raj generously, but Raj again refused, saying, "It's not about money. Just take care of your car, and maybe one day help someone else who needs it." The man nodded, clearly touched by the sentiment. He glanced around the garage, noticing the simple setup, the worn tools, and the small details that spoke of a life dedicated to honest work. "You really are something special," he said quietly. Almost to himself, as the man drove away, Raj felt a sense of fulfillment that went beyond anything he had felt before. It was not just about fixing cars. It was about touching lives, giving hope, and showing that even in a world that often felt harsh and unforgiving, kindness still existed. He returned to his work, fixing the next vehicle with the same care, knowing that every person he helped carried a piece of his kindness with them. Later that evening, as the rain began to subside, Raj sat outside his garage for a moment. Watching the streets glisten under the streetlights, he thought about the man and wondered what kind of life he led, what challenges he faced, and if he would remember this small town and the mechanic who helped him. Raj knew he would never forget the encounter. It reminded him why he did what he did, why every hour spent fixing cars, helping neighbors, and being patient with customers mattered. Raj's reputation in the town continued to grow, not because of advertisements or flashy signs, but because people talked. They spoke of the mechanic who helped without asking for money, who treated everyone with respect, and who had a heart bigger than his small, worn-out garage. People came from farther away, not just for the skill, but for the kindness they knew awaited them. That night, Raj went home, tired but content. He ate a simple meal, cleaned himself up, and reflected on the day. It had been another ordinary day in many ways, but the encounters he had, the people he helped, and the small moments of connection reminded him that life's value was measured in more than money. It was measured in kindness, patience, and the small differences one could make in the lives of others. As he lay down to sleep, the sound of rain softly tapping the roof above, Raj felt a quiet joy. He didn't know what the future held, or if his life would ever change dramatically, but he knew that by staying true to himself, by helping others without expecting anything in return, he was already living a meaningful life. And sometimes that was more than enough. He drifted to sleep with the thought that every act of kindness, no matter how small, had the power to ripple outward in ways no one could foresee. Tomorrow would bring more cars, more people, and more opportunities to make a difference. And Raj was ready for it. Heart open and hands ready to work. A week after the rain-soaked afternoon, when Raj had helped the young man with his car, the town seemed quieter than usual. The early morning mist hung over the streets like a thin veil, softening the edges of buildings and trees. Raj arrived at his small garage as usual, carrying his tools and a thermos of tea. Even though the work was hard and the PE modest, he approached it with a sense of purpose. For him, every car that came into the garage was an opportunity to help someone, even in ways that went beyond fixing engines. That morning, a sleek car pulled up near the garage, stopping abruptly on the side of the street. Raj looked up, instantly recognizing the vehicle from the previous encounter, the one driven by the stranger, who had left so hurriedly but with relief in his eyes. This time, the man stepped out more slowly, taking in the surroundings. He looked at the garage with curiosity and perhaps a hint of admiration. Raj noticed the subtle difference in the man's posture. He no longer seemed hurried or stressed, but thoughtful, as though he had been carrying something heavy and had found a small sense of relief here. "Good morning," Raj greeted warmly, walking toward the car. "What brings you back today?" The man gave a small smile, slightly embarrassed. I wanted to thank you properly," he said. "The last time you helped me, I didn't get a chance to express how grateful I am. Your kindness. It meant a lot more than I can say." Raj shrugged modestly, brushing off the praise. "I only did what anyone would do. I'm glad the car is working well. That's enough for me." The man shook his head gently. "No, you don't understand. You helped me when I had no idea where to turn. You didn't ask for money or anything in return. That's rare, and it shouldn't go unnoticed. I want to talk to you, to know more about the person behind this kindness." Raj felt a mixture of curiosity and caution. People didn't usually come back to talk about personal things. Most came, needed a service, and left. But there was something in this man's tone, a sincerity that Raj couldn't ignore. He nodded and gestured toward the garage. "All right, come inside. We can talk here." The man followed him into the warm, dimly lit garage. Tools lined the walls, shelves stacked with parts, and the scent of oil and metal filled the space. It was a small, humble place, yet there was a sense of order and care that spoke volumes about the person who worked there. They sat on a wooden bench, and the man began to speak, his words measured, as if he was choosing each one carefully. "I'm not from around here," he started. "I live in a city far from this town. Life there, it moves fast. People are busy, often too busy to notice those around them. That day when my car broke down, I expected to deal with someone who would charge me without care. But you treated me with respect and helped me without expecting anything. I've never forgotten it." Raj listened quietly, nodding. He didn't interrupt, letting the man speak freely. There was a calmness in the garage, a pause in time that made everything outside feel distant. The man continued, "I've seen many people in my life who care about money, status, or appearances. But you reminded me that there's still honesty, still kindness in the world, that has stayed with me every day since then." For the first time, Raj noticed a subtle change in the man's expression. There was a warmth in his eyes, a mix of admiration and something else he couldn't quite place. Raj realized that the man wasn't here just to thank him. He wanted to connect on a deeper level, to understand the person who had made such a small act feel so significant. "I appreciate your words," Raj said finally, his voice calm but genuine. "I don't do these things for recognition. I help because it feels right. If everyone could do a little for each other, the world would be a better place." The man nodded, clearly moved by Raj's response. "I want to show you something," he said, reaching into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small envelope, handing it to Raj. "Please, just open it when you have a moment. It's not charity. Consider it a token of gratitude for the honesty and care you showed me." Raj took the envelope with surprise. He had never accepted gifts or money for his help. It felt uncomfortable, yet he sensed that the gesture came from a sincere place. "I'll look at it later," he said softly, tucking the envelope into his pocket. "Right now, let's focus on making sure your car is fine for your trip." They spent the next hour checking the vehicle together. Raj explained the small adjustments he was making, teaching the man how to handle minor issues in the future. The man listened attentively, clearly enjoying the process and valuing the knowledge he was gaining. It was more than just a repair. It was a connection being formed, a trust being built, as the morning turned into afternoon. The rain stopped, leaving the streets glistening under the sunlight. The man stepped out of the car, looking genuinely thankful. "I will never forget today," he said, "or the day before. Your kindness has made a lasting impression on me." Raj smiled, feeling the familiar sense of fulfillment that came from helping someone without expecting anything in return. "Just take care of yourself and your car. That's all I ask." The man hesitated, then spoke again, his voice quieter this time. "I think people like you change more than just cars. You change the way people see the world. I hope one day I can repay that, even in a small way." Raj waved him off gently, but the man left with a thoughtful expression. driving down the street and disappearing into the distance. Raj watched for a moment, the garage quiet once more, before returning to his work. The encounter had left him contemplative, not because of the envelope or potential rewards, but because it reminded him that simple acts of kindness could touch lives in ways he might never fully understand. Throughout the day, more customers came and went, but Raj's mind occasionally drifted to the man and the brief connection they had shared. It was rare, he thought, to meet someone who genuinely recognized the value of kindness. And it made him realize that even in a world that often seemed self-centered and fast-paced, there were still people who noticed and appreciated genuine care as the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. Raj cleaned his tools and prepared to close the garage. The streets were quiet again, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of earth and rain through the air. He thought about the week that had passed, the people he had helped, and the small moments that made his work meaningful. That night, Raj sat by his small window, sipping tea and reflecting on the encounters he had experienced. The envelope from the man remained on the table beside him, a symbol of gratitude and trust. Raj didn't know what was inside, and for a moment he considered leaving it unopened. But the curiosity was strong, not for money, but to understand the gesture from someone who clearly valued his honesty and kindness. When he finally opened it, he found a simple note expressing heartfelt thanks and a small amount of money, not enough to change his life, but enough to show genuine appreciation. More than the money, it was the thought behind it, the recognition of his integrity and care, that mattered most. Raj smiled softly, feeling a quiet warmth in his heart. He realized that life had a way of bringing unexpected connections to those who lived with honesty and kindness. The stranger from the city had come into his life briefly, yet left a lasting impression, reminding Raj of the importance of staying true to oneself, no matter the circumstances. And as he prepared for bed that night, he knew that the world was full of possibilities, and that every small act of goodness could create ripples far beyond what anyone could see. It was a bright morning when Raj arrived at his small garage. Carrying his usual thermos of tea and the set of tools he had carefully organized the night before, the town was waking slowly, with soft sunlight spilling across the streets and birds beginning to chirp in the nearby trees. Raj liked these quiet mornings. They gave him a moment to prepare his mind for the day and to reflect on the work ahead. Life had always been simple and hard, but it was full of small moments that brought satisfaction, and Raj cherished them deeply. As he opened the garage doors, he noticed a car approaching slowly down the street. It was the same sleek car he had helped on 2 previous occasions. Raj's heart skipped a little, not out of nervousness, but because something about the man's visits felt significant, as though life was about to take an unexpected turn. The car stopped in front of the garage, and the man stepped out, dressed neatly, but this time with a calm and confident demeanor that contrasted the stress he had carried in previous visits. There was a gentle smile on his face as he looked at Raj, a smile that carried warmth, respect, and a hint of anticipation. "Good morning," Raj said, walking toward him. "Back again?" "Yes," the man replied, his voice steady and thoughtful. "I wanted to see you, to speak with you, and to do something important. It's been on my mind since the last time we met." Raj's curiosity was piqued, but he remained calm. "All right, come inside. Let's talk." The man followed him into the garage, where the familiar scent of oil and metal filled the air, and the quiet hum of the town outside made the space feel cozy and intimate. Raj gestured toward a wooden bench, and they both sat, the man placing a neatly folded envelope on the table in front of them. "I want to be honest with you," the man began, his tone serious but kind. "I have been thinking a lot about you and the way you live your life. The way you help others without expecting anything, the way you treat people with respect and patience. It's rare. More than that, it has inspired me in ways I cannot fully explain. I came here today because I want to offer you something that could change your life, and I hope you'll understand the intention behind it." Raj listened carefully, sensing the importance of what was coming. He did not interrupt, allowing the man to continue, his eyes never leaving Raj's face, conveying sincerity and trust. "I am not like most people who pass through this town," the man said, taking a deep breath. "I have resources, opportunities, and the ability to make a difference. When I first met you, I was caught up in my own life, my own problems. And I forgot that true value comes from the heart, not wealth or status. Your kindness reminded me of that. And now, I want to help you not because I expect anything in return, but because I truly believe in what you do and who you are. Raj felt a mixture of surprise, humility, and cautious hope. It was rare for anyone to express such genuine intent without expecting something in return. He nodded slowly, waiting for the man to continue. I want to invest in your garage, the man said, carefully. I want to provide new tools, better equipment, and resources so that you can expand your work. I also want to help you train young people in the town, teaching them skills so they can find work and improve their lives. I don't want to take control or change who you are. I just want to give you the chance to reach more people and make a bigger difference. Raj was stunned. He had never imagined that his simple acts of kindness could lead to anything like this. The garage had always been modest, barely making ends meet. He had worked tirelessly, often sacrificing his own comfort. But he had never dreamed that someone would recognize the effort and offer such an extraordinary opportunity. He felt a lump in his throat, trying to find words that would capture his gratitude and disbelief. I don't know what to say, Raj finally whispered. I've only done what I believe is right. I never expected this. The man smiled warmly. I know, and that is why I respect you. You didn't do it for recognition or reward. You did it because it was the right thing to do. That integrity, that honesty, is what makes you special. And it is exactly why I want to help you. You deserve this chance, and so do the people who will benefit from your work. Raj took a deep breath, absorbing the words. His mind raced with thoughts about the possibilities, better tools, more space, a chance to teach others, and the ability to truly expand his work and help more people in meaningful ways. It was more than he had ever imagined, and yet it felt fitting, as though the universe had finally acknowledged the kindness he had shared. The man handed him the envelope carefully. Inside, you will find a letter detailing everything I have in mind, along with the initial resources to begin. Take your time to read it, and know that this comes with no pressure, no expectations. Only a desire to see someone who does good succeed in the way they deserve. Raj's hands trembled slightly as he took the envelope. He had never been in a situation like this, where someone's generosity and faith in him were so tangible. For a long moment, he simply looked at the man, words failing him. Gratitude, disbelief, and a quiet joy swirled within him, making his chest feel full in a way he had never experienced before. Thank you, he said finally, his voice steady but filled with emotion. I don't know how to repay you. I can't. I just... Thank you, truly. The man shook his head, smiling. You don't need to repay me. Just keep doing what you do and continue to touch lives with your kindness. That is enough. As the man left the garage, Raj opened the envelope. Inside, he found a carefully written letter outlining a plan to support the garage and expand its reach. Along with the first installment of resources, enough to start improving the space and acquiring better tools, Raj spent hours reading the letter, imagining the possibilities and feeling a deep sense of hope for the future. Over the next few days, he began to make small changes. He organized his tools, cleaned the space, and started thinking about how to train young people who had come to the garage seeking work. The thought of teaching others, passing on his knowledge and skills, filled him with excitement and purpose. It was more than just financial support. It was a chance to create something lasting, something meaningful that could impact the lives of many. The town noticed the changes almost immediately. People spoke of the mechanic who had always been kind and honest, now receiving support from someone who recognized his value. There was a quiet sense of admiration and respect that grew around Raj in his garage, a sense that good things could happen to those who lived with integrity. Raj continued to work diligently, not letting the newfound opportunity distract him from the core of who he was. He still treated every customer with care, fixed every car with attention, and approached each day with the same patience and kindness as before. But now, he had the tools and the hope to reach further, touch more lives in ways he had never imagined. Evenings were spent planning, organizing, and dreaming of the future. Raj realized that life had a way of rewarding those who stayed true to themselves, often in ways that were unexpected and profound. The kindness he had shown to strangers had come full circle, bringing an opportunity that not only changed his life, but promised to change the lives of many others in the town. And as he closed the garage doors each night, tired but hopeful, Raj knew that this was only the beginning of something extraordinary. Born from simple acts of generosity and a heart that had always chosen to do what was right, months had passed since Raj received the unexpected offer from the stranger who had first come to his garage during a rainy afternoon. The garage had transformed gradually, but meaningfully. New tools, equipment, and a small expansion made it possible for Raj to work more efficiently and take on more vehicles. Yet despite these changes, the heart of the garage remained the same. Raj's commitment to helping people and treating them with honesty and respect. One morning, Raj arrived at the garage to find a group of young men and women waiting outside. They had come from nearby towns and villages, drawn by the word that the humble mechanic was willing to teach anyone who wanted to learn. Raj greeted them warmly, inviting them inside. He saw eagerness and hope in their eyes, and it reminded him of his own journey, how he had started with little but a determination to help others and improve himself. The first day of training was simple. Raj started with the basics, understanding engines, tools, and safety measures. He demonstrated each step slowly, explaining why it mattered and how to approach every task with care. The students listened intently, asking questions, making mistakes, and learning from them. Raj encouraged them, praising effort as much as results. He knew that confidence was built not just by teaching skills, but by nurturing trust and patience. Over the weeks, the garage became a lively place of learning. The hum of engines was mixed with laughter and conversation. Raj saw the young trainees grow in confidence, their hands becoming steadier, their understanding deeper. He felt a quiet satisfaction knowing that he was giving them not just skills, but also hope that they could earn a living, support their families, and perhaps even make a difference in someone else's life one day. The stranger who had helped, Raj remained a silent but guiding presence. Occasionally, he would visit, offering advice, encouragement, and additional resources, but never interfering with how Raj chose to run things. His visits were moments of reflection and reassurance for Raj, a reminder that the world had people who recognized goodness and wanted to see it thrive. One particular afternoon, as Raj was teaching a student how to diagnose engine problems, the stranger appeared outside the garage. Raj paused and waved him in. "Good to see you," he said. The man smiled. "I wanted to see how things were going. It's incredible what you've done here." Raj felt a mixture of pride and humility. It's been a lot of work, but it's worth it. These young people are learning, and that's what matters.
Nice.
The stranger nodded, his eyes scanning the busy garage. "You've turned a small act of kindness into something that's changing lives. That's remarkable. I wanted you to see the difference you've made, the ripple effect of your honesty and dedication." Raj looked around, watching the students work, their concentration and focus, the way they helped each other and learned together. He realized the full impact of his work. It was not just about fixing cars anymore. It was about building a community, nurturing talent, and showing that integrity and compassion could lead to real change. In the months that followed, word of Raj's garage spread far and wide. People came not only to repair their vehicles, but also to learn and observe. Families brought their children, hoping they could gain skills and opportunities they had never imagined. Raj welcomed them all, guiding them patiently, sharing his knowledge freely, and inspiring them through his example. Despite the growing attention and success, Raj remained humble. He continued to wake up early, eat simple meals, and focus on the work at hand. He never let recognition or opportunity change the principles he had lived by. He remembered the rainy afternoon when he had first helped a stranger, unaware that such a small act would set off a chain of events that would transform his life and the lives of so many others. One evening after a long day at the garage, Raj sat outside, watching the sunset. The streets of the town glowed softly in the fading light, and a sense of peace settled over him. He thought about the people he had helped, the students who were now skilled and confident, and the stranger who had shown faith in him when he least expected it. It was a quiet, reflective moment, filled with gratitude and understanding of the journey he had been on. The stranger returned once more, this time with a group of business partners and supporters who were interested in helping expand the training program. Raj was initially hesitant, but the stranger reassured him that they were there to support, not control. Over the next weeks, Raj worked closely with them to ensure that the program stayed true to its purpose, teaching, empowering, and giving hope. As the program grew, Raj saw tangible results. Students found jobs in nearby towns and cities, started their own small businesses, and some even returned to the garage to mentor new learners. The small act of kindness he had shown a stranger years ago had blossomed into a community of support, learning, and opportunity. Through it all, Raj remained the same man who greeted every customer with patience, who fixed every car with care, and who valued honesty and kindness above all else. He realized that wealth and recognition were temporary, but the impact of helping others and living with integrity was lasting. The garage had become more than a place to fix cars. It had become a symbol of hope, a beacon of what one person's heart and dedication could achieve. Years later, the town still remembered the mechanic whose simple acts of kindness had transformed their lives. People spoke of him not for the tools he used or the vehicles he repaired, but for the way he inspired others, touched hearts, and showed that living with compassion and integrity could create extraordinary outcomes. Raj had never sought fame or wealth, but in giving freely and helping others, he had found a life richer than he could have ever imagined. And so, the small garage at the edge of the quiet street continued to hum with activity, laughter, and learning. Raj worked tirelessly yet happily, knowing that every car he fixed, every student he taught, and every act of kindness he showed contributed to a chain of goodness that would extend far beyond what he could see. In the end, it was not just a garage. It was a testament to the power of a good heart, a humble life, and the extraordinary results that come when one chooses to live with generosity, patience, and unwavering kindness. Even after the garage had transformed into a thriving center of work and learning, Raj continued to wake up early every morning. Carrying his thermos of tea and a small bag of tools, the town had changed too. People no longer saw the small garage as just a place to repair cars. It had become a symbol of opportunity, hope, and kindness. Raj knew that this was not just his success, but the result of countless small moments, countless acts of helping others, and the trust and belief people had placed in him. One rainy morning, similar to the one years ago when it all began, a new visitor came to the garage. The man was younger, a little shy, holding a small notebook in his hands. Raj greeted him with a smile, asking what he could do to help. The young man hesitated, looking around at the busy garage. I've heard about this place, he said softly. I want to learn. I want to be like you. Raj felt a warmth in his chest. This was why he had done what he did all these years. The knowledge he had, the experience, the patience and carrot was meant to be shared. He nodded, gesturing for the young man to come inside. If you are willing to work hard and be patient, there is a lot to learn. But it won't just be about fixing cars. It will be about responsibility, honesty, and respect for others. The young man's eyes widened, a mixture of excitement and determination shining through. Raj began the day by explaining the basics, demonstrating simple tasks, and letting the boy observe before he tried himself. Mistakes were expected, and Raj used them as teaching moments. The garage was filled with the sound of engines, laughter, questions, and explanations. Each small success the young man had, each problem he solved, brought pride to Raj's heart. As the day progressed, Raj couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought him here. It had started with a simple act of helping a stranger, a small kindness given without expectation. That kindness had come full circle, not just changing his own life, but touching the lives of so many others. Every person he trained, every car he repaired, every act of guidance he gave was part of a chain that extended far beyond the garage walls. The stranger who had first helped, Raj returned once again. Now more often, checking in on the progress of the garage, offering suggestions, and helping Raj think about ways to reach more people. Their conversations were filled with ideas, hopes, and shared visions for the future. But Raj never let the guidance compromise the heart of his work. Every decision was still made with the principle of helping others and acting with integrity. Months went by, and the garage continued to grow. More students arrived, eager to learn, and more cars were repaired with care and precision. The town began to see tangible changes. Young people who had been trained by Raj started their own small repair shops. Families were able to improve their lives, and a sense of hope spread across the community. Raj's humble garage had become the center of a ripple effect that no one could have predicted, all starting from a single act of kindness. One evening, after a long day, Raj walked outside, watching the sunset over the streets. The golden light reflected on the walls of the garage and the tools he had used for so many years. He thought about the students he had taught, the people he had helped, and the strangers who had become friends. It was a moment of quiet reflection, a reminder that life was not measured by wealth or fame, but by the lives we touch and the hearts we inspire. Suddenly, a group of people came running down the street, waving and calling out Raj's name. Among them were some of his earliest students, now skilled and confident, who had come to surprise him. They brought with them letters, gifts, and small tokens of appreciation from the townspeople and families they had helped. Raj was overwhelmed. He never expected recognition or reward, but seeing the faces of those he had helped, knowing the difference he had made in their lives, filled him with a deep sense of fulfillment and joy. The young man who had first arrived that morning approached Raj, holding the small notebook he had carried all day. "I've written down everything you taught me," he said, eyes shining with admiration. "I want to continue learning and one day help others just like you did." Raj smiled, feeling the weight and beauty of the moment. "Knowledge is meant to be shared," he said softly. "Keep learning, keep helping, and never forget that it's not just about fixing cars. It's about building trust, showing kindness, and giving hope." The stranger who had first supported Raj joined them, smiling broadly. "Look at what we have here," he said. "A community of people learning, growing, and making a difference. It all started with a small act of kindness, and now look at the impact." Raj felt tears prick his eyes, not from sadness but from the overwhelming sense of purpose and achievement. He realized that every moment of struggle, every long day, every effort he had put into helping others had led to this point. The garage was no longer just a place to repair vehicles. It was a place where lives were shaped, confidence was built, and dreams were nurtured. That night, as Raj closed the garage doors, he reflected on the journey he had taken. From a humble mechanic helping a stranger on a rainy day to a mentor and guide for many, his life had been a testament to the power of kindness, patience, and integrity. He understood that the true measure of success was not money, fame, or possessions, but the impact one leaves on the lives of others. As he sat by the small window of his home, sipping tea and listening to the soft sounds of the town settling into night, Raj knew that his journey was far from over. There would always be new students to teach, new cars to repair, and new people to help. But he was ready, heart full of hope and hands ready to work, knowing that every small act of kindness had the power to create ripples far beyond what anyone could see. And in that quiet, reflective moment, Raj smiled. Content in the knowledge that living with compassion and dedication had created a life richer than he could ever have imagined. Not just for himself, but for an entire community that had grown around him.